Good evening, welcome, welcome, and our guests, members. We're gathered here today on another solemn occasion, the 98th commemoration of the Armenian genocide. First of all, on behalf of the Bolsa Museum, I would like to thank Professor Munjian for being with us and for his enlightening lecture about one of my personal heroes, Kirkor Zohrab. Of course, our guest, Ümit Kurt, whom I'll be introducing to you, would always be thankful for these types of events, for Board of Trustees member, also the Cultural Committee Chairman, Dr. Johannes Kulak-Kavedikyan, and his Vice Chairman, Kardis Sarafyan. Well, Bolsa Museum, as I was, referencing this a few days ago at another forum, is one of the right places, and Bolsa Highs are in their right place in the middle of the Armenian nation, as hailing from and being in the city where April 24th, the evening of April 24th, the tragedy and the beginning of the genocide, the destruction of our brains and soul before the body was attacked, took place. Kirkor Zohrab, 2-3 weeks later, but it was 250 to 300 intellectuals were taken away, which started the process of mass deportation, extermination, genocide, material dispossession of the Armenian nation, but most importantly, uprooting a people that had lived on their land. They have no other land, no other homeland for over 2,000 years. Along with, of course, today's Bolsa Highs include those who the Turks, the bad Turks, let's say, called the bıçak artıkları, the leftovers of the knife, the leftovers of the sword, from Kayseri, Central Turkey, Malatya, Sebastia, and the latest from Dikran, Nagert, Diyarbakir, and the Kurdified Armenians, these forced Islamicized Armenians, and all of them, because there really is no safe place to live in Turkey other than Istanbul. So they're all Bolsa Highs, but we join the rest of our nation, the rest of the nation that suffered this crime through the deserts of Deir Zor, through Aleppo, Beirut, France, United States, Canada, Argentina, and the rest of the world. And it is a nation that was brought to the point of extermination, that was planned and implemented by the Ittihad Terakki leadership that had taken over government by force, and at the same time, the party apparatus like Dr. Bahattin Shakir and Dr. Nazim that has been referenced. And it brought us to a point where, we know that very famous song, it brought us to the point of writing hymns, writing songs like, let's say, OIA, brought us to that existential extinction point of questioning our faith, to say, God, why have you forsaken us? But the first triumph, the first way of getting back to justice was the survivors who did not lose their faith, despite having composed that song and those lyrics, who rebuilt their lives. The film that we just saw, they lived, they succeeded, they formed families, because even though there will be other forms of justice, that's the beginning of how you get justice. And we talk about the 3 R's, the reparations and recognition and return of land. But all of that, depending on which order it happens, and I think at the right time, with justice, with many people working towards justice, we will achieve that. But in addition, as last week in a dialogue, very special dialogue between Professor Richard Minassian and Professor Elie Wiesel, where Professor Minassian asked Elie Wiesel, given all this geopolitics, given all this that we hear, Turkey is important and the ally and other European concerns and all world geopolitics, you know, how can Armenians really achieve justice? And Elie Wiesel said, by keeping trying, there is no alternative. By speaking the truth, by leaving the keeping the memory alive, and by those, he said, like me, who believe in your cause, adopting it and making it my cause. So we all are ambassadors to those like him to keep our memory alive, and because that's the least we can do. And no matter how tough it looks, no matter how difficult it is to do this, remember those who were marching through the desert. Remember those who had just witnessed their parents, their wives, their children, their aunts, their uncles slaughtered before their eyes, barely making it, hungry, starving, orphans. And they survived. They made through that challenge. So anytime one of you thinks that this is too difficult, this is too impossible, think how we as a nation achieve the impossible. And we will achieve it, and we will achieve it as long as we remain, at least on this issue, one united nation, one voice as Armenians. So, our guest is whom I will introduce, and he was born in Gaziantep, in Antep, in 1984. Ümit Kurt received his Bachelor of Science from Middle East Technical University, from the Department of Political Science and Public Administration, and his MA from Sabancı University, from the Department of European Studies. He is the author of Is the Justice and Development Party the New Central Right? And Great Hopeless Turkish Race, Fundamentals of Turkish Nationalism in the Turkish Homeland, 1911 through 1916. He is also co-author of The Rise of Think Tanks in Turkey and Their Roles in the Formation of Turkish Foreign Policy. He is currently a PhD candidate in Strassler Center for Holocaust and Genocide Studies at the History Department at Clark University, where he co-authored, along with Professor Taner Akçam, the book titled The Spirit of Laws, Seeking for Traces of the Armenian Genocide in the Laws of Abandoned Property. His main area of interest is the confiscation of Armenian properties and the role of local elites and notables in Antep during the Armenian Genocide, 1915-1921. He writes historical and political articles in various scholarly journals and newspapers including Turkish Studies, Culture and Religion, Turkish Policy Quarterly, Turkish Journal of Politics, History and Science, New Approaches, Birikim, Toplumsal Tarih, Cogito, Taraf, Radical, and Bianet. He was a research fellow at Social Science Department of Keele University in the UK between 2005 and 2006. He has also participated in various international conferences and workshops at Oxford University, UCLA, and Stanford. This evening's lecture will be on the following topic: what happened to Antepsi Armenians? The whole trajectory of Armenian deportation and genocide in Antep. It is my pleasure to welcome to Bosay Myutyun Ümit Kurt and call him to give us his lecture.